Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Forward podcast, a podcast of people who keep rolling forward no matter what life throws at them. Real people, real stories, powered by resilience and a drive that never ends. I'm Zach Sikora. Spina bifida didn't stop me. It just gave me a better excuse to sit down while I take over the world. Today's funny shirt is rolling with Today's funny shirt is rolling with the punches. This is a Zach original, rolling forward original, and you can find that shirt at rollingforward.printful.me. Pick up this one or other designs that I have on the website. So if you do have a funny shirt idea, throw it in the comments. The funniest might make it into the shop. Now let's roll forward in today's episode with Braxton. Braxton, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited to have you on. We met. If you want to tell the story, it's riveting. Everybody, it's riveting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I met Zach. I started coming to the gym that he works out at and training. Doing some boxing training, and I met him. There's like 3 Zachs here.
Yeah.
So it took me a little bit.
Yeah. It's kind of wild how many Zachs are at this gym.
But honestly, the good thing about it is if I didn't know somebody's name, I could just guess it. It's probably Zach.
That's so true. Yeah. Yeah. So you train with a Zach. He's actually coming on the podcast a little bit later. And then I train with a Zach as well. And then we train on the same nights, and we got to talking, and you were telling me a little bit about music and mental health, and you want to explain, just give a 10,000-foot overview of who you are and what you're about?
So I'm from Western Kentucky, a small town called Owensboro. I came up here to Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area for school, for college. Went to Thomas More, graduated with my bachelor's in psychology. Now I'm working on my master's in clinical mental health counseling. I'll be starting my practicum in the fall.
Okay.
So yeah, I just
What's practicum for those that don't know?
it's like an internship. So I start kind of so I'll work with a counselor, and I'll do like mental health evaluations, like assessments,
Okay.
treatment planning, care planning, lead some group therapy.
Okay, cool.
Kind of get my feet wet a little bit.
And so you're getting your master's or your doctorate?
My master's.
Master's.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how much longer do you have to go?
So once I start my practicum, I will have about a semester or 2 left.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want to share about you?
Like music. I've been playing guitar for probably 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Started recording some music with past couple years. I just got into boxing. It's almost been a year now. I really like that.
Yeah. I was watching you today. You can hit pretty hard.
I try my best.
Do you work out too, or?
Yeah, I try to
every so often. Not as consistent as this.
But. Right. This is my main thing.
Yeah.
I try to do something though 5-6 days a week.
Oh wow.
And sometimes if I'll go even work out twice a day if I'm feeling like it. But
wow.
Which I'll kind of get into that a little bit later on in the but yeah, I like to say I'm just a good old country boy from Western Kentucky.
I like it. Nice.
So I like to fish. I like all that stuff. So
I like to fish. I like fishing too. Have you ever heard of the YouTube channel Kayak Mike? He's a buddy of mine, and he's running like fishing leagues and stuff like that. So he's like super dedicated to it. So
yeah, I'd like to get into that.
Does different tournaments. I can connect you to, or just show you his website and all that. So Okay, so let's get into a few like fun, lighthearted questions. So, what's something? I guess this isn't so lighthearted, but what's something you think most people misunderstand about you or your story?
Um, I'm gonna go with something that people misunderstand about me is I always like to make people laugh. I'm goofy, like
Okay,
I like to have fun, but I think people don't understand that I can be serious sometimes.
okay.
Um, and I do like to help people. I do like to have serious conversations.
Yeah. Do you like
Um,
corny jokes or?
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Okay.
corny jokes. I like dark humor.
Okay.
I just Yeah, so I'll anything that's funny.
Yeah.
I love comedy movies.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I'm a big Jonah Hill guy. I like Jonah Hill.
Okay, yeah. Everybody says I look kinda like him a
A
little
little
bit.
bit.
Like,
I can see
I'm
it.
like, there's a GIF where, he's going like this,
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I
and,
understand
like,
that.
you know that one?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen that.
and, like, everybody's like, "You look exactly like that." So,
Yeah.
I'm pretty animated, so, okay, cool. What is something recently that made you laugh harder than expected?
So
Oh, by the way, I didn't get into this in the, but before the podcast, but, I do coach and I coach kids, and so,
Mhm.
like, their parents might see this and all that, so I like to try this. I like to try to keep this as, like, um I don't know that I want their kids watching this, but I wanna keep it as,
Yeah,
kid
100%,
appropriate as possible.
100%. Um, so the thing that made me laugh, and it's sad because I made myself laugh this hard, but I was talking to this girl and she was telling me, like, how she felt bad for her friend.
Wait, is this a friend, or how do you know this girl?
It was just somebody I knew. I was out
Okay.
and just I talked to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was telling me how her friend's dog died and she was all, all tore up about it. And she said, yeah, it was crazy. She said she got him cremated
Yeah.
and she got the jar back with like the ashes. She was like, for some reason, the girl like saw where it wasn't fully like disintegrated, like there were still like pieces of bone in there and stuff.
Oh.
And I looked at her, I said, "Man," I said, "sounds like they half-assed it." And I lost it. I don't know why. She thought it
Oh,
was hilarious too.
no.
But I just say stuff like that. I don't know.
That's
I'm pretty
hysterical.
I'm pretty witty sometimes. So
That's awesome, I love that. Okay, so let's get into a rapid fire. So,
okay.
these are again are pretty lighthearted. So, sweet or salty?
Ooh, sweet.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl for sure.
Yeah, yeah, same. Music or silence when you think?
Um, music,
Okay. Mountains or beach?
mountains,
Workout or nap?
nap.
Like, part of me wants to say nap, but part of me is like, "No, you gotta work out."
Yeah.
Uh, Favorite comfort food?
Ooh, pizza,
Therapy or journaling?
therapy.
Okay. Text or call?
I'm a big caller.
Yeah, same. Book or podcast?
Mhm. Book. I'd
Okay.
say book.
Okay, I'm more podcast. I'll listen to an audiobook here and there, but I don't read a lot, but I prefer listening over reading is what I meant. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay,
I
okay.
love some nice sweet tea.
Okay, okay. Do you have coffee in the morning?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I recently just started getting into coffee.
Ah, okay.
And I also like hot green tea.
Okay.
So a little bit of both.
Yeah, all right. Hey, can you do me one more favor and
Mhm.
just pull that mic? Like, take the top of it
Mhm.
and just pull it toward, like, turn it towards you. There you go.
Like this?
Yeah, like rotate it like that. There you go. Yeah, that's good. Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so you and I were talking about your music,
Mhm.
your mental health journey, and stuff like that. So, what I guess the first question that I have for you around that is like, what's your journey been like? Why did you decide to do that in school? And if you could
Yeah.
get into
So,
that.
when I was a adolescent, I had some really bad anxiety, depression.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I struggled pretty bad,
Mm,
um, and it really affected my life and how I felt about myself.
mm,
Um, and I had a lot of great people in the mental health field that really helped me, and it made a huge difference in my life.
yeah.
Um, and my therapist I have now, I've seen him since I was 15,
Oh,
16 years old, and his name's Brent Gerard. He's the man. He's the
okay.
best. But he really impacted me, and I guess I realized how important mental health was,
Mm-hmm.
um, and realized that people really need help, and I wanted to give back and be that person that they were for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I went on, um, and that was like I said, I was in high school and I figured that out, and then in September 23, I lost my dad to suicide.
Uh,
Um, and that was he was the man.
mm,
He was my best friend. He helped a lot of people.
yeah.
Uh, he was a teacher, coach, athletic director,
Mm,
and just the amount of people that like came to his visitation and stuff, and was like, "Your dad changed my life."
wow.
That really, that obviously had a huge effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt pain like that before.
Yeah.
So that even boosted kind of that drive
Mm-hmm.
about mental health. And um, so yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. That's where it's taken me. I feel like we deal with things in life so that we can help other people deal with the same situations.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why God put us here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I live
Y-
for.
Yeah. One thing that you might not know about me is I coach tennis,
Hmm.
specifically wheelchair tennis. And yeah, like I grew up playing that, and like like you said something like um we're put here to kind of pay it forward
Hmm.
is almost
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
heard
exactly.
in different words, but that's definitely how I feel about, like, tennis and stuff
Yeah,
like that. It's like, and it's bigger than tennis, right?
right.
It changes people's lives because they get around the wheelchair sports community,
Yeah,
and, um, they they get more independent. They see how to function better in
right.
wheelchairs and stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely is, something meaningful for me as well, so
And I think something with that is something that drives me nuts is when people are like, "What my job? Like, what? How am I making a difference in the world with what I do for work?" Blah blah blah.
yeah.
Like, no matter what you do, you're making an impact on somebody.
Yeah.
It don't
Right.
matter. You're
Right.
communicating with people. Like sometimes just saying hi to somebody at work or
Mhm.
whatever, no matter what you do, just
Yeah.
making them feel noticed.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that's why, like, when people aren't confident in what they're doing for work or that type of thing, I'm like, you're making a difference one way or another.
right. Yeah, 100%. So that leads me to my next question. What keeps you rolling forward?
Um, the mental health stigma,
Mhm.
um, and my dad,
Yeah.
all that together, is my main, I'm trying to get back into, well, I'm working on getting back into my relationship with God.
Mhm.
Um, that's important to me. I mean, I'm not obviously not perfect, and that's why
Sure.
that's why I want that relationship with him.
Yeah.
But that's some stuff that I'm working on.
Okay.
Which it's always faith's always been important to me, but
Yeah.
um, I feel like I'm not where I want to be with God right now.
Sure.
So I'm trying to get there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, all that together is what keeps
Mhm.
me moving forward.
Not nice. That's awesome. Okay, so I listened to it was your podcast or somebody
It was
else's
my
or
idea. We had that, all 3 of us. So the guy and the girl that were in it, they date,
okay,
and, I knew him first,
yeah.
and then
For those that don't know, he was on a podcast and he sent me the link and I listened to it beforehand and
mhm.
had some cool things to ask you about during it. But yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. Keep telling me about it.
So, the the guy, his name's actually Will Smith.
Oh no way.
Will Smith with 1 L. But, we kinda grew up together. I've known him for a long time, but we were never really close. And he started playing guitar about the same time that I started playing.
Okay.
Um,
How long
man,
ago was that?
this was 5 years ago.
Okay.
Um, and we were posting stuff on social media, like us playing guitar, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Um, and like he slid up on one of my stories or something and was like, "It takes a lot of guts to post your stuff." So,
Yeah.
um, and so I was like, "Man, let's play together sometime. Like I'm learning too." Like,
Nice.
so that's how we got started, and now he's one of my best friends.
Nice.
And then his girlfriend, I consider her like my sister. Like we're
Okay.
just all really close.
Yeah.
So we had this idea of doing the mental health podcast, and I wanted to talk. Like they wanted to learn about mental health, and I wanted to talk. So I was like,
Mhm.
well, for the first one, you can just kind of like ask me questions and
Yeah.
get my background. So that's
Yeah.
how kind of that got started.
Okay, cool. Any aspirations to continue with a podcast or
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Our setup wasn't the best. This is a lot a lot better setup you've got here. Um,
It wasn't bad. I mean, it
which it
looks
makes a difference.
visually nice.
I feel like it makes a difference, like the setup,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we're sitting on the couch. I mean, it seemed like a more
Yeah.
casual conversation. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so it was cool. Yeah, I'd like to, like I said, I love to talk to people.
Yeah.
I like to talk in general.
Yeah.
So
Same.
that's definitely something. That's definitely something that I'm interested in.
What, where was the audio coming from?
So we actually bought these like $20 mics
Okay.
on Amazon, and they just clip on your shirt
Ah,
and connect to your phone.
okay.
And so they're pretty much voice memos,
Got it. Okay.
and we just compiled them all together and lined them all up.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So he's an IT guy. He actually writes code for Spectrum,
Oh, okay.
so he's good at with all the computer stuff. So
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, that it was a good podcast. I don't know if you want me to link it in the description or
yeah, you can
okay.
anything to get the word out there about mental health.
Yeah, so one of the things that I heard you say on that podcast that I thought was really cool and it was hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think we can all think of somebody in our lives that's like maybe hurt us unintentionally or even like hurt us intentionally and it's like man you kind of lose trust almost in that person a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
um you know I guess one of my questions is like I suppose it's situational but do you have like any guidance on how you would address something like that like let's say it's a close friend or a family member or something like that
I got a situation.
yeah
Um, so I've always kind of worked with kids
mm,
I mean, I started in the mental health field when I was about 5 years ago. I started, sounds like everything just started 5 years
yeah
ago for me, but, I worked at a psych hospital for kids.
mm,
And a lot of them, everything stemmed from their home life and what they went through growing up and didn't
mhm.
have a lot of support or any support.
Yeah.
And then I got another job working with parents that have like DCBS cases open, um, that are
Wait,
trying
DCBS,
like
can you
CPS, like Child Protective Services,
oh,
like
oh, yeah,
social
yeah.
work.
Okay.
Um, and I was shadowing this girl that was doing the job I was going to do, and I went with her to this house, and the kid was just acting out. I mean,
Mm.
he had been through a lot. He he didn't have a very good situation,
Yeah.
and he had some mental health problems.
Yeah.
But he was acting up, wouldn't listen to his mom, was just being disrespectful,
Mm.
um, and just kept saying like, I didn't want to do what they were telling him to do.
Yeah.
And finally, I looked at him and said, "Hey, man, you know, we don't think you're a bad person.
Mm.
Like you're perfectly capable of doing the right thing,
Right.
and I want you to like know that."
Right.
And instantly, I think some people have just been beat down so much that they don't even think they're capable of doing the right thing and
Yeah.
being good.
Right.
And I think when people realize that they're capable,
Yeah.
um, that not the whole world's not out to get them.
Oh, I love that.
Um, I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what a great story. It's there's so many correlations that I can draw
Yeah.
to like the wheelchair tennis coaching or not the coaching that I do and so like one of the groups that I coach is adaptive
Hmm.
and sometimes there's behavioral problems with
Yeah.
that, right? And um that's such a great thing to say to a kid. Like so what was his reaction? Was he
I think he was kind of taken off guard a little bit.
yeah.
I mean, he was laying in the floor. What we were trying to do was we were trying to talk to his mom, just one on one. We asked him to go sit in the living room.
Mhm.
He was laying on the floor, breaking stuff. And when I said that, I mean, he laid there for a little bit and then got up and walked in the living room and sat on the couch. So I
Wow.
mean, it was like he just needed to hear that, he can be good. Like,
Wow. Okay. That's fascinating. Um so can you give listeners never mind. I already asked that question. Sorry. So another thing that I heard on that podcast was um there's always something you're not going to be happy about. And
mhm.
then later on you said something like find your purpose.
Yeah.
And
S-
with that, let me just elaborate a tiny bit longer and I I I heard somebody say, I think it might have been like Jordan Peterson or something like
That's
that.
where I got that from.
Oh
Love
yeah,
Jordan
he
Peterson.
he says it's not the pursuit of happiness. It's like he might have said something like it's the pursuit of responsibility,
Hmm.
and it was like that right there was like just a game changer
He
for me when
changed
I
my
heard that,
life.
dude. Me too.
His book, 12 Rules of Life. Did you read
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I did.
That's a good one.
I actually have a poster of that in my
Yes.
office. So the
Yes.
12 rules for life.
That's where I
So
got a lot of my stuff and advice
yeah.
from him and my therapist, and so I've got some good stuff. But yeah, so what was the question again?
Um. So well, it wasn't really a question. Well, I guess let's get into. So you said there's always something you're not going to be happy about. Find your purpose,
Yeah.
and I think that's where Jordan Peterson came in to talk about like responsibility and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Let me transition to this because one of his 12 truths is don't lie, to tell the truth or at least don't lie.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I heard him say about that was you'll go on an adventure if you
Mhm.
do that. And
Mhm.
it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. But then, and I think this was him that said it, but like, but then he's like, when you're trying to do things for your own self,
Mhm.
you have to act like you're your worst employee or something
Take
like that.
care of yourself like you're responsible for taking care of somebody else.
Yes, exactly. And like when it comes to the don't lying, I like I grew up in the church and I heard that as a commandment all the time.
Mhm.
But until Jordan Peterson said it, like it didn't register that I shouldn't lie to myself.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, oh, I want to wake up tomorrow morning and whatever, and like that's a commitment that
Right.
I keep, and you know, sometimes my alarm will go off, and I will be like, no, I don't want to do it. I want to
Yeah.
keep sleeping
Yeah.
or whatever else,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, you know, I did that enough in my 20s that I lost respect for myself, and the realization that I was lying to myself about doing things and not fulfilling the promises that I kept to myself was just a game changer when I heard him say that.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Yeah, that's big. I agree with that 100%. Um, I'm the same way. My physical health. One of the reasons I got into boxing
mm,
was I wasn't taking care of myself,
yeah.
like physically, mentally. I wasn't working out, and it kind of goes back to a situation with my dad before he
Mm,
passed. He asked me, he said, "Brax, I want you to start taking better care of yourself. You
mm,
deserve it."
mm,
And so I really thought about that. Um, and I started eating healthier. It took me a while. I didn't do it instantly after, after he told me that, but here within the past 4 months,
mhm,
I've really been focusing on my, overall wellness,
mm,
physical health, mental health, um, eating better. That's been big for me. I
mm,
mean, how much better I feel mentally, um, obviously physically too, but the mental part of it.
mhm,
I mean, I was just before I started working with Zach, I was not in the best place. I was drinking. I was going out like almost like every night,
yeah,
um, and I just partying like it wasn't good.
mhm,
Um, and so I said, you know what, I'm gonna do this thing right. You only get one life.
mm,
Um, So, I mean, he changed my life, too. I mean, like I said, I've got a lot of people, and I like to give positive feedback when somebody's made a big impact on me,
yeah,
because I think that's important.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, taking care of yourself and not lying to yourself, I think that's huge.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's huge. Um, can you go into your mental health struggles a little bit
Yeah.
or
Um,
or a lot of bit?
yeah. So, uh, one of the biggest things I had problems with, especially in high school, was going in crowds.
Mm,
I had bad social anxiety. I always thought people were like looking at me, like
uh,
judging me, um, and I told my therapist about it one time, and he said, "Brax," he said, "This is. I love giving this advice. This is the best advice anybody's ever given me." He said, "Brax, pe- human beings are selfish creatures.
mm,
They're not worried about you." And he said, "About what I mean by that is they're too busy worried about their own insecurities
yeah,
to notice your insecurities.
so true.
So it's like this is the example I give. You go over to somebody's house and you're like." Do they even, like, want me here? Like,
Yeah,
but they're too busy worried about if their house is clean enough and
right,
how they appear to you. So, like,
right,
that really made me think a little bit about it.
yeah,
So that's one thing. Um, I've struggled with, like I said, depression,
mhm,
uh, not not getting out of bed.
yeah.
Um, I
How
mean,
how severe was the depression?
it was bad. It was
Okay.
bad. I mean, I ended up having to go to like a psych unit and
Oh,
uh, like stay overnight and stuff, and
yeah,
uh, but it helped a lot.
yeah,
Um, I've been suicidal before, like,
mm,
just didn't wanna be here anymore.
mhm,
Um, so yeah. So that is very severe. Took a while to find the right medication.
mm.
Um, so
W
yeah.
which ended up working?
So the one that really was not good for me was the Abilify. That made
Okay.
me, like, made everything worse.
Mm,
Um, so now I take lamotrigine and sertraline.
okay.
Um, so yeah, that's what ended up working for me.
Yeah,
And I've also got into mushroom gummies, like
yeah.
the supplement, like the daily mushroom gummies.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Kind of helps with
That have, like, the
focus.
lion's mane and
Yeah,
stuff like
lion's
that?
mane.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten into that. Um, Not like the hallucinogenic mushrooms,
Yeah. Just
but
wanted to
yeah, I
clarify.
just want to clarify. Um, but yeah, that and that's made a big difference,
Yeah.
with focus,
Yeah.
mood, bloating. I mean, the physical effects and mental effects of it are really
Interesting.
interesting, and I kinda used to think, this is BS, this is not gonna work, but it
Yeah.
does, and then this other stuff that Zach put me on was, Shilajit,
Okay.
Himalayan Shilajit.
Okay.
It's got, like, a bunch of minerals in it. It's like this you can get it in gummies, or you can get it in, it looks like black tar,
Oh.
and it comes with, like, a little spoon, and I'll take it, and I'll melt it in my tea,
Oh,
and it
interesting.
helps with, weight loss, like, digestive, gut health, bettering performance, like, a bunch of different stuff, like,
Oh,
overall health. So it's I think it works pretty good.
interesting. Um, one of the questions. Well, I want to get back into your mental health journey
Yeah,
and dive into that a little bit more. But um, so Pierce Morgan, do you know who that is?
I've heard of him.
He has a podcast where it's he likes to do a lot of politics, but like he had this guy, and you might have heard of him, Chris Williamson.
That sounds familiar too.
Check him out if you haven't. He's awesome. He doesn't get into politics. He gets into more like self help and
Mhm,
just growth in general and stuff like that. But he's this pretty fit guy.
mhm.
And Pierce Morgan asked him, and before I give you his Chris Williamson's answer, I want to know yours. What's more important, mental or physical health?
Mm. The difficult situation with that is they're so connected,
They are.
um, but I think it's very hard to have to not have one and have the other.
Yes.
Um, but I'm gonna say mental health,
Okay.
um, because you're definitely not I don't know, that's hard.
Yeah.
I don't have a definite answer for that.
So Chris Williams said, and I really like this explanation. I think unless I hear a different answer from you, I think this is probably the more important one. He says physical health because mental health is downstream from that. It's because if you're eating junk food all the time and you're not working out, like it's pretty easy to get stuck in a
Oh, yeah.
mental health stoop,
I
and like
agree.
working out really just
Honestly, I'm
uplifts
gonna have
you
to
and
agree
stuff
with
like
that. I'm
that.
gonna have to agree with that answer.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Okay. So your mental health journey. When did you start getting depressed?
Mm, freshman 8th grade, freshman year of high school?
Okay. And then how long were they like periods of like a week depression and then maybe a week of good, or like was it like months, years kind of thing?
Um, Probably months, years. I think a
Yeah.
lot of it stemmed from, like, anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, so
And here you are on a podcast that's going to go to public. That's
yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah. Would you have been nervous to like more nervous to go on it on a podcast like this, or
probably.
yeah? Okay.
I think, I think the thing that really, um and ever since, like, I started dealing with this mental health journey, I think one thing I learned is, 1, not to care about stuff that doesn't matter.
Mm,
So, like, stuff that's out of your control,
yeah.
um, or honestly just, uh, not giving a damn.
Yeah.
Like, when I say that, I mean, like, screw it, let's do a podcast. Let's play
Yeah.
some live music.
Yeah.
Let's get a boxing match. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? Nobody's perfect anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people beat themselves up. I think something else that Jordan Peterson really talks about is isolation.
Uh-huh.
Because whenever you you think you're the only one that's dealing with something, you isolate, you alienate yourself from everybody else.
Yeah.
He talks about that in one of his
Mhm.
videos, and I think that's big. I think realizing that the problems that we deal with as human beings are a universal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think everybody is going through a similar struggle, and one thing you said earlier is like when you say um you almost stopped. You said something along the lines of you almost stopped caring and you're just going with it,
Mhm.
and you also made the comment of like people like social anxiety of like you going places and you think people are looking at you and
Yeah.
judging you and all that. Like, I think those go hand in hand. Like, there's a healthy balance
Mhm.
of care versus like caring too
Yeah.
much, right?
Yeah.
So
That's something I struggle with in my mental health journey.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, Not to, like, toot my own horn, but something that I take pride in is I feel like I have a big heart for people,
Mm,
um, and I care a lot about people,
yeah.
um, and I think that's big because it gets me in trouble sometimes because care too much, you get
Hmm.
hurt, people take advantage of it,
Right.
that type of thing, but yeah, that's another thing in my mental health journey I've struggled with.
Yeah.
Um, I always try to see the good in people, and that gets me in trouble too.
Right.
So,
So what was and again, if you don't want to talk about this, that's fine. But what are like? Can you share like maybe one of your darkest moments and like what was life like around then, and then like how did you get out of that?
um, I'll be honest with you, the medication was the biggest thing.
The medication. Okay.
And I think that's what got me out of it. And you said my darkest moment.
One of them. Yeah. If you're
I think
comfortable.
just that feeling of like, I mean, people can be sad, uh, and say like, I don't even want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
But that feeling when you literally do not want to be here anymore,
Yeah.
that is a different and a dark, very dark feeling. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like like you feel that in your soul.
Right.
I think that's one of my just thinking like that,
Yeah.
and then getting the help I needed and taking the medication
Yeah.
and looking back, I didn't realize how dark of a place it was until I got through it.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Um. So I think when you're in those situations, it's so hard to maybe one realize that you need help, but even if you do realize that you need help, like caring enough to to seek help.
mhm,
So, what was that switch in your head that made you go? Obviously, you went and sought help,
mhm.
right? So,
Um, I guess I just got to the point where I was like, and it's crazy because I was so young, but I honestly think I thought to myself, I'm tired of feeling like this.
oh
I'm sick of feeling like this.
yeah,
My parents were worried about me. They were all upset. They knew how I was feeling.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think that's my biggest thing is like I was like, dude, I don't wanna isolate myself anymore. I don't wanna feel like this
yeah, right,
because I was hurting people
yeah,
around me. I mean,
yeah,
I hurt people. That's like we talked about. Like
right,
I was upset with myself. I was angry.
yeah,
Um, Not physically hurting people, but
sure,
I would say mean things to people and just because I was angry.
right,
So, and it made me realize like how much I wasn't myself anymore.
right,
So that's kind of what.
yeah. Okay, wow, that's it's awesome that you didn't go in the other direction, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you actually and it sounds like you have people in your life that like care about you
Hmm.
and all that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I have a lot of, my dad was obviously my number one.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I have a lot of friends. I have friends who are like my brothers. I mean,
yeah,
I like I said, I can't stress it enough. I just love people.
mhm,
Like
yeah,
I get along with anybody.
yeah,
I don't care where you came from, what you look like. If you got a good heart, you're
right,
genuine.
yeah,
That's all I care about.
yeah. That's
Um,
awesome.
so I mean, I got female friends, guy friends, like
Yeah,
so. Um, but one thing that I would like to share,
yeah,
kind of, another thing about me and my dad's relationship, something that's really cool, and I want people to hear this. I know you said that you coach kids and their parents will be watching this and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah, yeah.
something that I did with my dad when I was a kid. He read a book, and the book was called Raising Cole,
Okay.
and it was about this high school football coach wrote a book about him and his son's relationship and how he raised him was Cole. So it was about how he
Mm,
raised him, and his
okay.
son died in a car accident.
Oh, wow. I was thinking of the black
Oh no, I
stuff that you burn,
yeah,
the
yeah.
coal, yeah.
So he told me, and my dad came to me one day and he said, "Brax, there's something I want to start with you." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, I want to have dead man's talk.
Hmm.
And dead man's talk is where I can go to him and say, I want to have dead man's talk, and he can't judge me. He can't tell anybody, and he can't
Mm.
get mad at me.
Wow.
Just like if you told a dead man something.
Whoa.
So that's something that really built our father son relationship. Like if I messed up and I did something I wasn't proud of, I'd go to him and say, "Dad, I need to have dead man's talk."
Oh, wow.
And that really is something that I'm gonna do it with my kid.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's something that all parents, I think that's really good, something to do with their kids.
Wow. Yeah. So, oh man. So I'm thinking about my parents. My parents were extremely strict. I kept everything from them. I didn't tell them anything. Like if there's a girl that I met that I was interested in, that they weren't known about that.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if I had an I don't know. Even if like my friend in the car sped down the highway too fast and it was like really fun, or I don't know, whatever. Like, I would keep everything from them.
Yeah.
Gosh, it got to the point where I went to University of Arizona for just a semester, and my mom took me to like orientation, and I I didn't know this at the time,
Mhm.
but I took her to she took me to orientation, flew out with me, did all that, and I wanted her to go back to the hotel, and so that I could hang out with the other college kids and stuff like that, and all that. Like, and I was really adamant about it. And I was like, "Mom, like, okay, you can go now. Thank you for dropping me off." Blah 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 blah. And here I am, this ungrateful kid who didn't realize who wasn't really even grateful that his mom like flew him out and is sending me off to college and all that. And like apparently I was so harsh, and I didn't want to be around her so much that like she went back and cried, and I was like, oh man, like I love my mom, I love my dad, and it was like, I don't know, it was one of those moments. Not not entirely sure why I mentioned that. Well, we were talking about,
Well, let me
so
ask you
dead
this.
man's talk. So
Yeah.
go ahead. What was
Yeah.
your
So, I mean, I love my mom to death too. Uh, but I was like that with my mom
yeah
when I was. I mean, dude, we were. I mean, we gotta think. We were 18, 19 years old. You know what I mean?
yeah
So I mean, that's a pretty.
tip this down for me real quick? A little bit more. Yeah, there. That's good.
That's kind of a typical response. I feel like.
Yeah.
But the fact that it sounds like you kind of beat yourself up over that a little bit.
I mean, I felt guilty about it after the fact. She
Right.
probably didn't tell me until much later that that actually happened. So,
Right.
um,
But the fact that you realized, like, and you felt bad, like, that's
yeah,
some people wouldn't, you know what
yeah,
I mean? So that,
true.
like
Yeah, but yeah, so like dead man stock. I'm even trying to figure out if I would even trust my parents enough to have that conversation with them, and I'm gonna say probably not at this point. I mean, just I mean, I can tell them most things now, and that's fine. Everything okay?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, but I can tell 'em most things now, and it's fine. But I think if I told my parents something, it would come back to haunt me. Like, especially if let's say I told them I snuck out of the house when I was younger, right? Like, If I told them that the next day or the next week, they'd be watching me like a hawk more. You
Yeah.
know, like, all right, is he sneaking out is he sneaking out tonight? And they'd put different measures in place to make sure that I didn't do that again. And
Yeah,
um,
so you played it smart. That's
well,
you played it
yeah,
serious smart.
I mean,
Hey, that's not a bad thing.
yeah, I mean, I guess, but like, how did dead man's talk even like I can't even picture myself as a future father. I'm no kids, none in the making either. But like I can't even picture myself doing that with a kid because like I'd want to catch the kid in something they're doing and stop that
Mhm,
from happening in the future, right?
mhm.
So like, how did that work?
Um, one thing about me is if I got in trouble, I was making sure that, I told my parents before anybody else did.
Okay.
So, like, if I got in trouble at school or something, I'd instantly call my dad and be like, "Dad, I'm sorry, I got in trouble."
Uh,
So, I guess it kinda took strain off me because like, I was upset, and I was like, "They're gonna be mad at me." But I think too, with us both being obviously men,
yeah,
um, I think that it's a lot less awkward than
yeah,
it would be, like, if I was talking to my mom or, like, or a father talking to their you know what I mean?
right, yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think in that situation, he, uh, appreciated the honesty
yeah,
and the confession and the taking responsibility and knowing that it was wrong
yeah,
over, like you said, like catching me doing something wrong and like,
right.
you know what I mean? But I also get where you're coming from too. I get both.
Right. Was there anything that you kept from him, or were you pretty open about most things with him?
I mean, I definitely didn't tell him every time I was going to a party or nothing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But like most of the stuff, yeah. I mean, I was pretty open with him.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I mean, I didn't just like wake up every day and like make a list of everything I did wrong and like, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Sure.
it was stuff that was weighing on me.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think he just didn't want stuff to just weigh on me where it would just eat away at me.
Right. Right.
Um, so yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Um. So I wanted to ask you about Well, so okay, so we talked about mental health and growing up with it and anxiety. Um, do you think the medication also was the biggest factor in like your anxiety as well?
Mm, you mean making it better?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but I also think therapy was just as beneficial.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I started out, I had bad OCD.
Yeah.
Looking back now, when I was a kid, like 9, 10, 11 years old, I'd wash my hands 800 times a day till they'd crack.
Wow.
And I was just worried about like if I got like, for some reason, like looking back now, I always worried about like if I got water on the light switch, like I thought it would electrocute me.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and
I
I
mean,
would ask
that's a
my
fair
parents.
assumption.
I'd ask my parents, be like, "Is it okay? Like if what if I get water on the light switch?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so just stuff like that, like I don't know, it was bad, like OCD, like I said, and um,
So
so it kind of started out like that,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
and
keep
then
going.
it kind of I don't know, I guess I grew out of that. I don't know,
Okay.
and it just turned into more like anxiety and
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever there's I think it's SNL. I don't know for sure, but there's a Bob Newhart
mhm,
clip about mental health and this I'm going to butcher it. It's not going to be funny, but go watch the clip everybody
okay,
and we can watch it afterward, but it's just to throw in a little bit of humor. So this lady sits down and Bob Newhart is the psychologist and he goes, "All right. I see patients for no more than 5 minutes, and I charge $1 a minute, and I don't take I don't give change. And so She goes, "Well, I'm really concerned that I'm gonna be buried alive in a box." And he goes, "Huh, okay, and, what stemmed this?" And she goes, "Well, I don't know," like, and she keeps going on about, like, a couple things, and he goes, "Alright, I've got 2 words for you, and I think this'll solve all your problems." And she goes, "Oh, should I write it down?" And he goes, "Well, I mean, you can if you want to, but it's only 2 words, and I think most people remember it." And he goes, "Alright, are you ready?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Stop it." She goes she goes, "What what do you mean, stop it?" And he goes, "You know, it's so funny how these 2 simple words, 'stop it,' people ask me what they mean. Stop it."
Yeah.
And then, and then she's like, and then she's like, I don't like that." And he goes, "Well, just stop it."
Yeah.
And, anyway, so it's I'm not gonna ruin the full punchline, but it's something that I quote to people all the time, like, if someone's like, "Oh, I've got the cold," I'm like, "Stop it." And
Yeah.
I don't know, so
It's funny. I like therapist humor. I saw this therapist and client was having a conversation, and the therapist goes, "Well, it seems like you try to find broken people and try to fix them." And the
yeah.
client goes, "Well, hell, isn't that what you do?"
Yeah, that's so true. That's great. Okay, so I wanted to share a story and kind of get your take on this. So as far as mental health goes, I did struggle with like a little bit of depression.
Mhm.
I also I think the big one was ADD. I was diagnosed in fourth grade with ADD, and like every time I acted up or like got distracted or something like that,
I have that
um,
too.
oh yeah, okay, and someone or me would be like, "Oh, did I take my medicine?" And
Yep.
you know, I would also ask people like, "Hey, if you see me distracted or whatever else, like, can you just ask me if I took my medicine? Because I'm supposed to take it, like, I think it was in the morning and then like at lunchtime or something like that." And then, so one of the really interesting things that I learned, and I think Jordan Peterson makes this analogy with like lying. When you lie, for example, you start to blend truth, and you go so
Mhm.
far with lying that you don't know what's up and what's down, right? And so one of the cool realizations that I had probably in college was I was letting ADD define me and who I was so much to the extent that like it was defining all my behaviors, and I was able to blame ADD on my actions instead of taking personal responsibility for them. And I thought that was so interesting. It took one of my old employers. I ended up being late so much that they're like, "Hey, one more and we're firing you." And I was never late again, right? Like
Yeah, I've been
like
there.
I made 100% sure that I was on time for that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it was one of those things where like I was like, "Oh, you know, I got distracted. I'm sorry." And it's like that doesn't work in the corporate world, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't do that. So I wanted to ask, one, have you ever experienced that in your life? But if not, like, just what's your general thought on that? Like, letting something like that define you versus taking personal responsibility for it.
It's funny you say that because I s I struggle with that being late stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, I used to take medicine for ADD,
Mhm.
but it made my anxiety so bad that I had to cut it
Mm.
out.
Yeah, I could
But
see that.
anyway, um, so I think, uh, obviously you wanna hold yourself accountable, but also it's important to have other people around you that will hold you accountable.
Yeah.
So I had the same issue, like, I was being late for work and everything, and, my manager, like, kinda said, like, "Dude, like, same situation, like, you can't be late anymore," like,
Mhm.
and a lot of people at work are late, and I looked at him, and I and I wasn't even really being a smartass. I said, "I promise you, if you start discipline me for being late, I'll be on time."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
right.
just have to, like, hold me accountable, like, um, and then yeah. So that's I agree, and I think it's nice to be self-aware, to ask people like, "Hey, hold me accountable for this." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I absolutely. So, I guess, going into the mental health field,
Mhm.
and I think more and more, like, people online, I think the mental health awareness is getting bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And so, um, talk to me, I guess, do you think that some of those people who are like I think there's just some people that are just outwardly like, "Oh, this is who I am. I am Zach with ADD,"
Mhm.
you know? And it's like I no longer let ADD define me, right? It is probably something I'm still going through and all that, but it's like I'm holding myself accountable, and I realize some people have it so bad that they can't do that, right? And
Right.
but like how do you broach, like, when you're talking to a client, like, that whole, like, "Okay, this is a problem you're dealing with. This is"
Actually, you.
Yeah, "This is you." Right.
So there's this thing called uh client first something.
Yeah.
So instead of saying he's autistic,
You can move the mic around.
instead of saying like
There
he's
you go.
autistic,
Yeah.
he's a person with autism.
Yeah.
So not letting like or say he's he's disabled.
Mhm.
He's instead of saying that, saying he's a person with a disability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like client focused. I can't think of the exact name of it.
Yeah,
How to say it, but
you focus on the
yeah.
individual and the the problem that they're coming to you with is secondary to the
Hmm.
individual that you're
Right.
with. Yeah, yeah.
And
I
there's like person centered therapy,
Yeah,
like different. There's different types of therapy.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting just from the physical disability perspective. Having spina bifida and stuff like that. Like I've always said that I'm disabled,
Hmm.
and it obviously defines a lot of what I am with life. Right? I use a wheelchair and all that. Right? So the first time I heard individual with disabilities, I was like, man, like I feel like we're just trying to be and let me back up and say I get the sentiment of
Hmm.
saying individual first
Hmm.
and with a disability, but it's like, man, say individual with disability 10 times fast. Like just say that person's disabled, right? Like
Say it like it is.
that's my general sentiment with that.
Hmm.
But I get the thought process of what I was just explaining. Like I have ADD
Hmm.
instead of I'm an individual who's struggling with ADD
Hmm.
is such a more truthful statement than I have ADD.
Right.
And so I've never heard somebody explain it like that, and I really I like that. It still seems like a tongue twister to me to
Yeah.
say you're an individual with XYZ instead of
Right.
hey, you have this. But I get the sentiment. So um yeah, so the ADD I think for me was the biggest thing growing up that I struggled with.
Hmm.
I did have a depression. I've had bats of depression here and there where like I've I get really. Did you have an addictive personality?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too, and when I play video games, I throw so much out the window. I don't do that as much now that I'm, like, older, but, like, in college, I got into Skyrim,
Uh-huh.
it's the Elder Scrolls
Yeah.
series, and I played that, and then, like, I'd skip a class, and then, I started to skip that class all the time, and then, I'd
Yeah.
skip another class, and,
It all snowballs.
yeah, yeah, it snowballs, and it's interesting. I think the next kind of topic that I want to talk to you about is fear of failure. Um,
Fear's a liar.
yeah, fear's a liar. I like that. Keep pulling that as you move around. Just pull it
Alright.
towards you if you don't mind. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm an amateur
No, no,
here,
you're
man.
good. You're good. I'll keep reminding you. But yeah, fear's a liar, and I think um one of the snowballs for me was I just failed, so screw it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So I guess my question: have you ever struggled with that? I feel like
Yeah.
everybody does, but
Yeah.
and then do you have like any stories where that happened, and maybe even how you got um or even elaborate on like how you can get out of snow? What's a good way of getting out of a snowball like that?
Um, so do you know what cognitive distortion is? You ever heard
Um,
of cognitive distortion?
I feel like I could surmise what it is, but
So cognitive distortion is like uh, I'm gonna be alone forever.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Are
And that's
you
just not
really
true.
gonna be alone forever? Are
Right.
you? So it's like you do these techniques called cognitive restructuring.
Yeah.
And one is like reframing.
Uh-huh.
So reframing would be like, so you're mad that you ran a mile in over 10 minutes.
Mm,
Well, instead of looking at it like that, you're like, well, now I know now I just know I need to work harder.
right.
So it's like instead of thinking negative, it's like changing your I got a hair over here.
No, you're
Change
good.
it's like changing your point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that's big when it's like, screw it, like, especially like whenever you like quit something halfway through because you're like, I already messed up.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that that's a big. It's all about how you see things.
yeah.
Um, I read some of this book called "The Obstacle Is the Way,"
Yeah.
and it talks about how much you can learn by going through an obstacle instead of going around it.
Yeah, so true.
And dealing with stuff like that actually like makes physically parts of your brain
Right.
like develop.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think that's
I
the
gotta
best answer
sneeze.
I could.
I don't
Bless you.
Sorry, guys. Um, yeah, I think that's the cognitive distortion is so good. Um, the other guy that uses the wheelchair out here, he's my best friend, and he doesn't want us to use his name on the podcast, but one of the things that he's really drilled into my head is I like to make expressive statements
Hmm.
like, "Oh, nobody does this," or "Everybody does this," and it's like, "Well, no, that's not true."
Yeah.
I remember I said something like, "Nobody is talking about this," and here I am talking about it.
Yeah.
And he just likes to keep pointing out, like, "No, that's not true." And I imagine, like, when you had your social anxiety
Uh-huh.
and, like, you were thinking about people staring at you and judging you, and it's like, you probably had the similar thought process of everybody's
Yeah.
staring at me and judging me, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
that's just not true. And
And
so reshaping that mindset. So go ahead.
and I think it's important too to sometimes you get a thought in your head, like say you're thinking that your like significant other's cheating on you or whatever. You're like, they're out doing like have you seen those memes where it's like it'd be like a girl thinking about uh what their boyfriend's doing with their with his friends, and it like has like a wild party with a bunch of girls, and it says like, what they're actually doing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're like
yeah.
doing just something
Yeah,
stupid. It's just them.
right.
Um, it's like you have to sometimes just sit there and just
They're throwing gummy bears into their
yeah,
mouths. They're
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, playing like checkers or something
yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and it's like you got to sit there and literally sometimes say to yourself, like, do I know absolutely, positively, 100% that this is true?
Yeah.
And I think, there's the power of the mind is so something that I thought was really interesting. This guy, this like, I don't know what he was, a psychologist or something, and which this is, I guess it's proven because of the situation. But so anyway, supposedly, um, he was like a doctor or something, and he got in a car accident and was paralyzed.
Oh,
And he mentally, in his brain, he mentally kept picturing his spine being rebuilt,
oh,
and he wasn't ever supposed to walk again.
right.
But he basically, what's it called when you like speak something into existence?
Uh, mindful? No. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Manifested it.
Manifest.
He
I was like, it's an
manifested
M.
it.
It's an M.
He
Yeah,
manifested it, and
yeah.
it literally. I mean, he was able to walk again.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
um, I used to have I had a bad confidence issue. I'm still working on it. Like I used to not have any confidence at all,
Mm,
and and I'd get my feelings. I was struggling with this girl. I'd get my feelings hurt easy, um, and I really liked her, and I would get all upset.
you
Like,
can
thank you.
pick up the mic too. Yeah, yeah. There you go. And then you can move this side to side and back and forth, and
Is this
yeah,
good?
yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Um, so there's a senior on. It was when I was a freshman at Thomas More. There was a senior football player that kind of was doing like what's it called, life coaching kind of.
Yeah,
And he was big into the like manifesting stuff. And
yeah,
uh, he was like, dude, he said, whenever he said, I want you to sit there, and when you start thinking that this girl's gonna leave you, and you get upset, you
right.
gotta literally sit there and say to yourself, I'm a badass. I'm a badass. I'm a
Yeah,
badass. Like just over and over and over.
yeah,
And like if you get if and I've noticed when I get anxious and I tell myself to slow my heart rate down, it works.
yeah.
Like if I sit there and you focus on it. So
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of truth behind that. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I heard something. It was probably like a YouTube short or something like that. Like somebody told the person to close their eyes, and they did. And well, no, no, no. First, they said, "All right, I want you to look around the room and think and look at all the blue stuff in the room."
Uh-huh.
And the person looked around the room, and then they're like, "All right, now close your eyes." And then they said, "All right, now tell me all the red stuff that you saw instead of blue." And it was that they could maybe name one thing that they remember was red,
Uh-huh.
and that's it. And it's interesting. I think a part of manifestation that I agree with is if like you set your mind to it,
Uh-huh.
like it can happen. Um, I think there's different levels of like I guess power to that.
Uh-huh.
Like if I wanted to manifest $1 million, I don't think that's
Yeah,
gonna happen overnight, right?
that's
Like
true.
there's a barrier. But if I said, all right, I want to make $1 million, and then I have a plan for how I am gonna make $1 million, and it's a sound plan, you can have your sights set on that and work towards that. I also think there's a lot of like ancient um ancient like medical type stuff that are pretty powerful from the perspective of like your mind is a pretty powerful thing, and I think we're underutilizing it. And so
Uh-huh.
like things like healing paralysis and
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I think that's you know, there's part of me that says, okay, well, would that have happened
Mhm.
regardless? Because that does happen. Like you get a sever in your spine and then it heals
Right.
it up. But does like there are things with with I don't know, different medical ailments, and I don't even want to try to guess, but like people have a more positive mindset about getting healed from it,
Mhm.
and they actually do get healed from it versus people that have a negative mindset from it, like they end up having it longer or something like
That's what
that.
I was
And
about to say. I can't remember. So I read books, but I read like parts of them and then just quit.
okay.
Uh, but this other book I read, I can't remember the name of it, but it talked about optimism and
Mm,
pessimism.
mm,
And studies show that people who are optimistic are more physically healthy than pessimistic people. Like pessimistic people, like struggle with inflammation more
mm.
than like optimistic people. Like it's a bunch of different things.
Wow.
But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Um, yeah. Okay. So let's get on to the next question. What's been the biggest surprise in your own mental health journey? Something no one told you, but you had to learn yourself. That's a two-parter. So we'll start with what's the biggest surprise in your own mental health journey?
Biggest surprise in my mental health journey. I would say how much better you feel after just talking about things.
Mm,
Like, especially looking back whenever I first started going to therapy.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I was like, what's this going to help? Let me go here and tell you my problems.
Mm,
And that's coming from somebody that's going to be, be a therapist now. So,
yeah,
uh, I think just the power of just talking to people and communicating is wild.
yeah, absolutely. And then so something no one told you, but you had to learn yourself.
Um, just in general
Hmm.
or about mental health,
Um, I mean,
about life.
if you have something about life, go for it.
Um, I think it's kind of goes back to uh, it's amazing what you can learn from other people.
Mm,
Being open minded, um, talking to different people, regardless of from their background or, um, I don't know. Uh, I'd rather be poor and wise than rich and ignorant.
mm, I like that.
Uh,
Yeah, because I mean, if you're wise, you could probably figure out how to make money if you're
well,
poor,
everything, I
right?
feel like everything's about how you treat people,
Yeah,
honestly. I
service.
mean, the way you treat people will get you further than anything.
Yeah,
If you are good to people and, uh, so that's something I really learned. Um, which my dad kind of like, taught me some of that. But as I've gotten older, I've really like
yeah,
realized that
yeah.
truth behind that.
Um, can you are you comfortable talking me getting deep on with your dad a little bit or
Yeah.
yeah? Someone going through the same thing, they lost their father. What advice would you give them?
Um, First of all, don't expect it to get better overnight.
Yeah,
It's a journey.
yeah,
It's a long journey, and that journey's not going to end.
right.
It's one of those things. I think you get used to it,
Yeah.
um, and do not expect other people to understand how it feels.
Hmm.
You can't do that. I tried to do that, um, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to understand that like
Right.
you do.
What do you think are like a couple one? Uh, what are some of the best ways that you were able to heal from it? You were able to get better. I'm not saying fully healed, but
Take better care of myself.
yeah. Okay. That
Um,
includes eating healthy and
mhm.
working out and stuff like that.
Guitar and music really made a big
Uh,
difference.
yeah.
Um, that was kind of my therapy. It still is.
Mm,
So yeah, I think it's all about how you look at it. Um,
yeah.
I kind of looked at it, the amount of people he impacted in positive ways. Um, the amount of people that kind of realized how important mental health is that didn't really realize it before
Hmm.
he passed. Some people that were close to him.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Where were you at with your mental health journey? Were you in a better mindset from with mental health, or were you pretty low still at that point?
I was in a better mindset.
You were. Okay.
I was in a better mindset.
Yeah. I can't imagine going through something like that and also having a pretty low mental health state, you know?
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that when it first happened, it comes in waves. I think I was in shock so much when it first happened, those first day or two, that it was hard for me to even cry.
Mm,
But after you get through those first few days, you don't stop.
yeah.
So it's like one of those things. Like I was questioning my own sanity because I was like, why am I just not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, so I guess I just had to learn to ride it all out.
Mm. Did you did it help to like talk to family and friends about it, or did it help to almost not talk about it?
Um, it depends.
Yeah.
I think the worst. This sounds bad, but people just like texting you and saying like sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Like that was like the amount of people that like try to come out of the woodwork
Mhm.
whenever something like that happens.
Yeah.
Like dude, like I appreciate it, but like don't we don't even talk.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm weird about that stuff though.
No, dude, I get it. This is nowhere near the situation of losing a father, but like I used to have surgeries. I mean, spina bifida comes with like it's a birth effect. So
Hmm.
like throughout your life, you're growing and you have different like other side effects. Let's say, and people like I've had so many major surgeries in my life, and like people would text me, or well, I guess I didn't really have a phone. People would call me or just tell me, "Hey, good luck tomorrow in your surgery," or "Good luck next week in your surgery," or whatever else. And it was like, I told my parents like after having so many surgeries, after so many surgeries of them doing that, I'm like, Mom, I don't want anybody to talk to me about my surgery,
Yeah.
because every time that was brought up, it just gave me anxiety about that surgery,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like, I don't know, like I can imagine somebody being like, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss." You're like, "Oh man, like I was just watching a YouTube video and laughing for the first time in forever, and now I'm reminded of this situation because someone just said, 'Hey, I'm sorry for your loss.'" What did that resonate with you at all?
A
Or
little bit. I think the hardest thing, I think, and it was hard for me to see either the positive, like, of the situation.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Because
how
but
could
I
you?
know that sounds terrible, but I realized who my real friends were.
Oh.
Um, I realized is that I mean he appreciated me for me more than I appreciated myself for me,
Mm,
and I've realized that, and it's made me appreciate myself more
mm,
because of it,
yeah,
and the amount of people like that. It's weird because you think the ones that would be here for you sometimes aren't, and the ones you
mhm,
think wouldn't care are the ones that care.
yeah,
Um, and I think like I said, it's all about how you see things.
yeah,
Um, And those are the things that I kind of keep in mind that, came out of this whole situation.
If someone has a friend going through this, or someone they know going through what you went through, what were some of the most helpful ways that people supported you?
Honestly, it's hanging out,
Hanging out,
hanging out.
being there.
Make everything like, because the bad part of it is, I mean, after a month, people around you, like, they go back to living their own lives. I mean, people feel bad for you, have
Mm.
sympathy for a little bit. And every time I talk about this, I always tell people, like, I don't want you to feel bad for me. I'm telling you, I'm talking to you about this because it's a real thing. I want you
Right.
to understand how, you know, but, people, they'll be sad with you for a little bit.
Mm.
And, but, time for them moves on and you feel like you're still stuck right here
Right.
in this, dark, dark place. And you are.
Yeah.
But I think people just hanging out with you, asking you to go do things, just showing that they genuinely care about you,
Yeah.
kind of having some normality
Uh-huh.
just in life, just, hanging out, acting, just shooting the bull, acting like,
Right.
um, I think that's the best thing.
Mm.
A simple calling saying, "Hey man, how's it going?"
Right. Yeah.
Um, not necessarily bringing all that stuff up, but just saying, "Hey,
Right.
like, you doing good? What's up?" You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Just being there.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And it sounds like there was a flood of people in the beginning, but like that consistency of continuing to be there was one of the more helpful
Right.
things that somebody
Yeah.
that people did in your life.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Um, anything else you want to share about that moment that you think would benefit others?
Um,
And
Not that I can think of.
okay.
I did come up with, I want to write a book called Pain Makes You Think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just about kind of, the thought process behind that occurs when you're going through pain and deep hurt.
Mm.
And, um, you know, just the things you wonder, you sit there and wonder, like, has anybody else ever hurt like this? Does anybody understand? Um,
Yeah.
and it'd be kind of like a self-help book, but kind of more like a book people would read to know they're not alone.
Right. Okay. Wow. Pain makes you hurt.
Pain
Um,
makes you think,
pain makes you think.
or pain makes you wonder. One of those.
Pain makes you wonder. Pain makes you think. Yeah. I mean, I think, in your situation, you're forced into that pain,
Right.
but then we're here at the gym, right? And that's a different pain that
Yeah.
like you go through voluntarily,
Hmm.
right? And that's interesting. Um, one of the things that I was curious about with mental health, um, vitamin deficiencies. So I'm really big on like vitamins and
Hmm.
like natural supplements and stuff like that. And like one of the things that I've figured out about myself is I feel a lot better when I make sure I have magnesium and like vitamin D and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And like if I'm ever in a slump or whatever, I'll go over and take some magnesium or vitamin D or whatever else. I'm sure there's others
Hmm.
that I'm missing, but um, have you experienced that in your life at all, or
I'll tell you this. And I know, like, what is it, the sun and vitamin D or whatever is something.
yeah, you get vitamin D from the sun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I worked nights at one point,
Uh,
and I mean, obviously, his sleep schedule probably had something to do with it, but I was more depressed not being out in this, like, out in the sunlight,
mm,
and I could tell a big difference.
yeah,
I think all that's really important, and that's good that you, like, pay attention to that stuff because
yeah.
I need to do more of that.
Mm.
I want to get involved in the IV therapy
Oh, IV therapy. Yeah,
with the minerals.
yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, I think everything, like, kind of like homeostasis. like
Mhm.
everything being, you know, balanced. I think it's
Mhm.
very important.
Do you think the psychology industry focuses on that at all?
Um, I think they could focus on it more. I
Yeah,
think there needs to be more um focus on how the physical and the physical body and the mind are connected.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like working out, how it boosts your spirits
Right.
and stuff like that. Like you just feel so much better
Right.
the next day and
Yeah. Sleep
all
better.
that. Yeah, sleep is also a big thing. Gut health is
Mhm.
another thing that I've been really
Mhm.
into recently. And
I'm telling you, those mushroom gummies, dude.
dude, I'll you'll have to share that with me.
I will.
I'll definitely check that out. I've been doing been eating sauerkraut just plain,
Yeah.
and
I'm a picky eater. That's so
yeah.
I can't. I'm a texture guy. I
Yeah,
can't.
we had this sauerkraut dish growing up, and our whole family just loved it.
Mhm.
But yeah, sauerkraut and like you've got apple cider vinegar with
Mhm.
mother and doing like those shots and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So um, I also have like probiotic pills that I take, but
I need to get some. I need to get some of those.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But apple cider vinegar, it's with mother because that's the
What's mother?
it has to be with mother because I don't know why they call it that, but with mother is the
What if
bacteria
it's
that's
with
in
father?
it. Yeah, I don't think that exists. uh, but yeah, that's the actual cultured apple cider vinegar. Otherwise, from what I've gathered, it's just apple cider vinegar that doesn't have like the probiotics
Mhm.
for you. So,
Okay.
but and that's really cheap too to just get apple cider vinegar with mother and um, yeah, I feel like it's there's like I've just been trying to do like things like that more naturally, you know.
Mhm.
Um, okay, next question. Um, what are a few things, habits, mindsets, tools that genuinely help you feel more grounded or functional when things get hard? I feel like we've covered a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
if you can expand.
I think praying's big for me.
Ooh, okay.
Praying and reading the word and
Yeah.
uh, I think it's good for reassurance. Gives you some structure. Gives you
Yeah.
something to live by.
Hmm.
Because you know that saying, if you don't stand if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything.
Hmm. If you don't stand for you've got a lot of good quotes.
I
Can you,
just
can you repeat that?
if you if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, wow. Um, okay. So you said prayer, and then what was
Just
the other?
reading the Bible,
Reading
reading
the
the
Bible.
Word.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
That's big, and I think just surrounding yourself with good people
Yeah,
that want the best for you.
yeah. That's so
Positive
important.
influences.
Yeah,
That's 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 really important.
yeah,
Support, but also, I think it's just as important for your mental health to help other people.
yeah,
Kind of get that helper's high just from
yeah,
helping other people. It
yeah.
feels good.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Um, I had a debate with one of my friends about that. There's a concept of doing things for other people to help yourself,
hmm
and it's like almost like a selfish mindset, and I don't know that I really support that idea. I think it's you do things for other people because you want to, and I think for example, no, I'm not. I don't want to talk about me in that regard, but like it's something where like you do things for other people that maybe you don't want to do. Like, of course, I love coaching, right? And maybe there's a selfishness to that to an extent,
hmm
right? And I want to see the kids that I coach, the adults that I coach, be better human beings overall, right?
hmm
And I love that. Like, but if if someone needs their like their toilet plunged or something really gross or
Yeah.
just something you don't want to do like that, it's like I think that's where you can really define where it's doing service, where your motivations are, and doing
Right.
truly doing service for others or doing service for yourself. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Another question: if someone listening quietly struggle, if someone's listening and quietly struggling, what would you want them to hear today?
That it's okay not to be okay, and that they're not alone.
Uh,
Which sounds cliche in the mental health field, but it's so true.
yeah.
Um, you matter. You have a purpose,
Mhm.
regardless of what that purpose is. Uh, my thing is somebody's got to do it. Whatever it
Mhm.
is, somebody's got to do it for the world to work.
Yeah. Let's talk about purpose a little bit more. So coming here and doing like MMA type stuff,
Mhm,
you do boxing, um, and then just I don't know the camaraderie that's here too is something that I love.
mhm,
Coaching tennis, whether it's wheelchair, adaptive, blind and visually impaired, able bodied, all of that. Like I also have a day job, right?
mhm,
And I think from a purpose standpoint, like I'm looking at my day job and I'm looking at everything that I do outside of that day job, and I'm thinking like what I do outside of that day job is purpose. I mean, yeah, you can do things. I can do things within the job, like we were talking about earlier, of like brightening people's day by saying hello and stuff like that, right? But like, what truly gives me meaning in life is everything that I just said, right? And one thing that I've been thinking a lot about is how can somebody find their purpose? Like it's so easy to say
mhm.
like, "Hey, go find your purpose. Do it. Find what you're called to do or what just gives you purpose, right?" But it's like especially if you can imagine somebody just like fully depressed laying in bed listening to
Right.
this, right? It's like, where do you even begin? Someone that's purposeless. How, how does someone like that find purpose?
Think about what they like to do.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'm big on the God gives us talents, skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I'm a talker. I like helping people. So I'm using that to be a therapist.
Yeah.
Just think about whatever it is. I mean, if you love to freaking make tennis shoes,
Yeah.
make tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Do what you like to do. Somebody's gonna need some tennis shoes.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you like to work on cars.
Right.
Somebody's gonna need that.
Yeah.
Um, that just goes back to kind of saying like, if you like to cook burgers, work at a restaurant. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, you're gonna make like you got a purpose. You're gonna make an impact on other people.
Mm.
Um, so I think yeah, just investing in yourself,
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, go ahead. Expand on that, please.
investing in yourself, appreciating yourself, um, for who you are,
Yeah.
and be that person, and just
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
You're talking about stop it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Just do it.
just do it like Nike.
Yeah. 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 Um, yeah, I think that's great. And someone on another podcast said something along the lines of like, be a service to others.
Hmm.
And I thought that was pretty profound because like, yeah, like how can you go and find like do things that you like
Hmm.
around people and do things for people um that make them better, that just brighten their day and stuff like that. So I don't know. Um, anything else to add around purpose?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. This next segment is you're not alone segment we kind of
Mhm.
touched on, but um what's something people don't say enough when it comes to mental health?
Uh, I love you. I appreciate you.
Ooh. Yeah, I've been trying to do so much better at like being appreciative and I think grateful. I mean, yeah, you can be grateful of things and where you're at in your life and stuff like that, but like I love you and I appreciate you is like it's so valuable to tell people that
And I
because
tell my friends that. I'm like, if I get off the phone with my buddy, I'll be like,
yeah.
all right, love you, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's just how I am.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um so I always like to do well, let me ask this. What's your take on how people with visible or invisible challenges are treated when they speak about mental health?
Um, if they're treated any differently than the ones that treat them differently because of it, like in a bad way, or like they're not, I mean, who cares what they're not worth your time if they're going to
Mm,
see you differently because you have mental health problems.
yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
not even worth you know, if they like treat you in a bad way because of it or like make it seem like you're weak because of it, then they're not worth even being friends with.
What if it's a parent
Um, that's a good question.
or a sibling?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, at that point, you obviously love them regardless how
Yeah.
they feel about you, but I think the biggest thing is with that is realizing that it's a them problem and not a you
Yeah.
problem.
Mm.
Um, don't let them their thoughts of you define who you are.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. Don't let their thoughts of you define who you are. Oh, that's so good. There's another quote for the
Mhm.
books. I love that. Next one is we were talking about. I like to add a disability segment in here.
Mhm.
Um, would you consider mental health a disability?
I would consider it an illness,
Okay.
um, because I feel like a disability is kind of something that like can't be fixed,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I say that as in like you know you get sick, you go to the doctor, you get some medicine, and it helps.
Mm-hmm.
Like a disability, like I don't know, like you can't. I mean, some stuff you just there's not making any better. It is what it
Mm.
is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that might sound harsh, but I
Nah,
mean, it's just I
not
don't
to
know.
me. Yeah. I agree with that. I think if you like just want to be literal about disability, it's
Hmm.
basically like lack of ability,
Yeah,
right? And if you want to take it literally, someone who has a broken foot maybe is disabled momentarily,
yeah,
right?
I agree.
If you struggle with mental health, that disables you momentarily,
Right,
right?
because you're not able to be to your full potential.
Right. So I don't know that I would look at like depression, let's say, as a disability. Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't call it that. Again, it's a mental health issue or something along those lines is what I would call it. It's in a almost in a different category
Hmm.
in my brain.
Yeah.
Um, but it was an interesting question when we were talking pre-podcast. Just to throw this out to any listeners, I am curious. Do you think mental health? Um, do you think would you consider mental health a disability? Let us know in the comments because I'm very curious what the thought is of everybody
Yeah.
in this. Um, so yeah, that's interesting. So from disability standpoint, and we can exclude like mental health
Mhm.
and stuff like that from that. What's your experience with physical disabilities or disabilities in general? Like could be cognitive disabilities as well.
Yeah, I've worked in, so I've worked with some children that have autism,
Mm,
um, and that's kinda like that's that's a little difficult,
yeah.
um, and when I say that, it's just hard to it you try to relate, and it's
Mm,
hard to,
yeah.
um, and it's, but I enjoy it. I enjoy
Y-
working with
yeah.
that population, and, I do enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because it's a different method of
Right.
communication almost. Like
And that's something that, um, some people I mean, it's for some people, and some people it's not for them to work with, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Um, but I enjoy it. I enjoyed it when I did.
yeah. Um here's a question that I and we can talk about I forget what word you use when you think something that isn't true. Cognitive dissonance,
Cognitive distortion.
cognitive distortion. So one of the things that I think about whenever I'm around someone new is there's an elephant in the room. Specifically an able-bodied person. Um, and the elephant is in my head that they are curious about the wheelchair. They're curious why I'm disabled. They're curious
Mhm.
what I can and cannot do. They're maybe a little unsure of how to act around me. Like, I'll tell you, and I talk about this nearly every single podcast. It's really funny opening the door, me opening the door for an able bodied person. They always think like, oh no, I gotta help this guy in a wheelchair. Let me get you. And like, there's so many like I am not a very awkward person, but I like to put myself in awkward situations sometimes
Yeah.
just because it's like it's a fun social
Builds
experiment.
character.
Yeah, builds character, I guess. Well, like, okay, here's a random social experiment. Is next time you're out at a restaurant, the person will say, "Hi, my name is Adam. I'll be your server today." Introduce yourself back. Just say, "Hey, nice to meet you, Adam. I'm Zach." And
Good idea. I like that.
it's one of the weirdest reactions that you get from people because they don't expect you to introduce yourself back, and it's like in a world of like I don't know, it's the only time that I can think of that you don't introduce yourself to the person that just
That's a good
introduced
I've never
themselves to
thought
you.
about that, how you said that.
Yeah. So I do that at every single
That's
restaurant
funny.
just to see what the reaction is, and it's just funny because it gets them thinking about things. So like, go ahead.
Um, I think something I wanna mention,
Mhm.
and it's funny because I showed my roommate that picture I took of you with that shirt on that I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. What
Uh,
was it?
the
The
walk.
dog and the
Yeah.
okay, okay. So just so everybody knows, it's a picture of a guy in a wheelchair, and then a dog, and the guy in the wheelchair is saying to the dog, "Sit." And then there's another thing that the dog says, and the dog is saying to the guy in the wheelchair, "Walk." And it's just it's a hysterical shirt. I love it. It's probably the shirt that I wear the most and get the most
Yeah.
reactions, the most laughs over. So
Yeah, that's hilarious, me and my roommate were talking, and he goes, "Dude, I love people like that. That
yeah,
can make humor and, like."
yeah,
So, I think, you were talking about, the elephant being an elephant in the room. I
hmm
think you make it so much more.
accessible.
Yes, it's accessible. Um, yeah, you make it so much more comfortable
mm,
by doing
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, right.
Um, so, I mean, I think that's hilarious.
I will say that is something that I very much pride myself on. I want to get rid of that elephant in the room
Mhm.
as fast as possible. And I guess from someone that I don't know horribly well, I'd love some like transparency here and honesty. Do you feel it sounds like you haven't really interacted much with like someone in a wheelchair and stuff like that. So like, did you feel the elephant in the room?
No,
No. Okay.
not really. I don't know.
And that's okay.
This is gonna sound like bad,
Please. No,
but, like, when
just
it
say.
comes to that, obviously, I care, like, what happened. I care about somebody, like, I care what
Yeah.
happened to 'em, but it's like, I don't care that you're in a wheelchair, like,
Yeah.
I'm saying by that, that sounds terrible,
No,
but
no, no.
I'm saying it as in a way, like, I just see you as a person.
Yes. Kinda like what we were talking about with, like,
Yeah,
individual with a disability. You see the
like,
individual, you
I
don't.
just don't think anything of it.
Yeah, okay. This is I'm going on a journey right now talking to people, and this idea is one of those things that, like, I wanna start mixing into the podcast a little bit more, especially with able-bodied people, but also with disabled people too, um, to see if they have that elephant in the room or if it's just my cognitive distortion
Mhm,
that there really isn't an elephant in the room and I'm just making stuff up. Um, However, I do think regardless if there's an elephant in the room or not, I think it's really important, um, to throw out humor in my disability or just throw out my disability in general. Like I call them cripple jokes. I make cripple jokes all the time. Um, and it's like self-deprecating humor, right? And it makes other people laugh and yeah, like kind of like what you were saying with the shirt is like yeah, like it makes I suppose my image, like I think some stereotypes of people in wheelchairs is they are they're vegetables, let's say, and they don't have anything going for them, and maybe they're traumatized by their injury and stuff like that, and which I would think probably most people that are disabled are not at this point
mhm,
in the stage of their life traumatized, let's say. Some people are. I mean, some people have gone through horrific things, but um, I think for the most part, it's a myth, unless they're like newly injured and not used
mhm,
to being disabled yet. Um, so yeah, and so I don't know. There wasn't an elephant in the room with you, and you also crossed me as one of those people that just like just treats everybody
yeah,
like as an individual
yeah,
and wants to get to know them and
yeah,
for who they are and yeah there might be that curiosity that you have about my
mhm.
disability but it's not going to be any behavioral change or anything like that.
I'm really bad about, not bad about it, but people that, like, might dress differently or, like, people think look weird.
Yeah,
I love talking to those people.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I love just, like, cause it's amazing. Some of the people that look the most intimidating are, like, the most down to earth people.
Mm,
Or, like, people just avoid people because they look scary or
right,
I'm the
yeah.
first one to be like, "Hey, man, what's your name?"
Right,
Like, I wanna
yeah.
pick your brain.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. uh
Um,
I think that's one of the reasons why we decided to sit down and talk.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
I love that stuff, and I just, in addition to that, like, the mental health side, you never know who just needs to be noticed.
Yeah,
Like, if I go out and there's somebody sitting by themselves, say I went to a bar and there's somebody sitting by themselves, I'm the first one that's gonna be like,
yeah,
"What's up, bro?"
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. That's
and
awesome.
they might hate me, they might think I'm just a goofy redneck, but I
Yeah,
don't care.
yeah, yeah.
I
Right,
don't care.
right. Yeah, that's interesting. Again, like I want to go on this journey of like discovering this, but like my perception is sometimes people don't wanna approach me because they don't know how to act around me, let's say. And I'm obviously a pretty extroverted person, pretty outgoing person. And I'll just interact with anybody and everybody, but I can imagine someone who's not maybe being unseen more than they'd like.
Mhm.
And I again, I this is kind of a journey that I'm gonna go
Yeah.
on and
You are
see if that's
extroverted
true.
too, and you got good jokes, but, um, I don't think I'd recommend stand-up comedy.
Yes. It's funny because I tell people that was probably I love that joke. But I tell my able-bodied friends, it's like, listen, you can make jokes or you can make disabled jokes, which by the way, don't do this around everybody in a wheelchair. But because there's some people that are like, nope, that's off limits.
Yeah.
But my philosophy on that is like, listen, you can make wheelchair jokes, but if you tell me like, hey, there's a speed limit, which I've heard since the second grade, like a billion times a day, basically, like it's like it. If you tell a good one, I'll laugh with you, but I will put you in your place if it's a dumb wheelchair joke that I hear time and time and
Yeah.
time again. So, um, speaking of stand-up comedy, I've thought about getting into stand-up comedy. I don't have time for that, but
Yeah.
like I've definitely thought that if I ever did stand-up comedy, it would start with yeah, so my stand-up comedy journey has been kind of interesting, or something like, yeah, I'm trying stand-up comedy and
Clearly, I failed.
yeah, clearly I failed or like you guys let me know how that's going. Something along those lines. I like I'm gonna try stand up comedy. Clearly I failed. Something like that. I feel like it needs modified
Yeah.
slightly. Like, how do I intro with that? Or I have a shirt on the rollingforward.printful.me. It says you know what I can't stand with the question mark, and then it says, you know what, dot, 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 I can't stand. And then below that, it says punctuation matters.
I like that. You
uh,
could have gone with, you know what I can't stand? Myself.
yes. You know what I can't stand? Myself. Oh man, that's great. I need to make that into a shirt too. Um, I'd have to think about like that the punctuation behind that and stuff like that. You
I
know what
s
I can't stand myself. Like,
I
go
s
ahead.
I saw a guy that had a Hot Wheels sticker on the back of his wheelchair. I love
Yeah,
that. That
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
hilarious.
I think that's probably copywritten and I'd probably get in trouble, but like, um, I could definitely do like I actually have like a ChatGPT helps design some of these for me, and I have a like just a pepper with a face in a
Mhm,
wheelchair, and it's like burning in the
mhm.
background and the tracks and yeah, like saying Hot Wheels below or something like that. Like
I think it'd be cool to do like it would be the Hot Wheels logo, but instead of saying Hot Wheels, it says like your brand,
oh,
like
rolling forward,
rolling forward in the you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the brand that I chose was a superhero in a wheelchair,
Mhm.
and I still play this phone game. It's called Summoner's War, and it's this game where it's like a strategy like turn based type thing, and it's one of those like just endless things. You farm and you collect resources and whatnot, but like I ran a guild back in the day, and the wheelchair jokes were like so prevalent that everybody decided to get a superhero in a wheelchair, and it was just a silhouette of a superhero, and I'm like, yeah, that's got to be my
Yeah, I
logo.
like that.
So, yeah, it's just the irony of like, I mean, I guess Professor X is like he's in a wheelchair, but like,
That's fine. I didn't think
the
about that.
Hulk in the wheelchair and like Superman in a
Yeah.
wheelchair, it's like there's definitely some humor with that. So
Yeah, I like that. I like
yeah.
that.
By the way, you seem like you have some fun ideas. So if you ever think of a shirt, like send me a text or something like that. So
I think you should get
um,
one that a shirt that says, "I can park wherever I want."
yes, I like that. I had an ex girlfriend that used to be like, "Hey, park in the VIP parking."
Can't park there.
Yeah. VIP being the handicap parking because it was closer. Yeah. So, anyway, let's see any more disability talk. Yeah, I think we're good. Unless if you have any questions for me, like you're welcome
No.
to ask them on air on the stream and all that. So, okay, so let's see. What's one of the weirdest or most unexpected things you've done when trying to feel better?
Hmm. The weirdest, most unexpected thing I've done. I feel better.
Weirdest or unexpected or funny or I don't know
Uh,
if you have one. Yeah, I can move on.
I'll tell you what song I listen to is if I'm in a bad mood, I just jam Pink Pony Club. You know,
I
just
don't even know what that
you don't know
is.
Pink Pony Club?
No.
It's pretty good song. It's about a stripper, but it's a girl. I can't think of her name who sings it,
Okay.
but it's pretty fun.
All right. Yeah. Send me that after the podcast. I'd love to give it a listen. Okay. So you make music.
Hmm.
Do you write your own music?
Yeah.
So you write your own lyrics, you write your own is it guitar that you
Hmm.
play? And do you add any other instrumentals or like do anything from the computer to add like
Yeah. So
drums or
I'll sometimes I'll use Rock Band.
yeah,
I mean Garage Band.
garage band? Yeah.
Um, but sometimes I'll just come to go to a studio with an idea and we'll like bring it to life.
Okay. How many songs well, first of all, do you have any songs that are public?
Hmm.
Um,
Acting Up is one of them,
okay.
and then
Where can people find those?
YouTube. They're
Okay.
on Spotify and Apple Music too.
Okay.
Um,
What's the channel name? Do you know?
it's just Braxton Hurley,
Braxton Hurley. Okay. And
and
spell your last name real quick.
Hurley.
Okay. And I guess Braxton, Braxton.
Uh huh.
Okay.
And I've got Sunshine. That's a mental health song.
Okay.
That's one I'm probably most proud of. But I've got some. Those are the only two songs that are public right now. That one's got a music video to it. But I've got some songs in the vault too. So,
Okay. Okay. How many songs have you written?
um, I've messed around with writing a bunch of songs. I've only recorded about probably around 10.
Okay. Cool.
Um, but
So
some of it's just coming up with different sections of songs. Like
mm,
I've written a bunch of choruses, I've written some verses, and
mhm.
sometimes I'll come up with a verse or chorus and go back to the verse or chorus that I wrote before and put it together and make a
Yeah.
song out of it. So I've got
Uh,
like I could scroll on my phone like a ton of notes of just song lyrics, like
yeah.
just see if I can.
What's your favorite verse or song lyric?
Hmm. I'm a big Coetzel guy.
I don't even know what that means.
Coetzel, Koewetzel.
Okay.
And in one of his songs, he says,
Oh, he's an artist.
yeah,
Okay.
he says, things change, but I'm not worried about the changing of things as we'll figure it out.
Wait, say that one more time.
So things change, but I'm not worried about the changing of things because I'll figure it out.
Oh, I like that. That seems on brand to what we've
Yeah.
talked about. Okay. What
So,
what about one that you've written?
um, ooh,
You
uh,
can raise it up a little bit.
I wrote one about
Go ahead. Put up
called Letter
radio.
to Society.
That good?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And the chorus altogether is my favorite. I say,
Letter to Society.
yeah, that's
Okay.
the name of the song. And the chorus goes, I'd rather go out as an outcast than ever fit in with the in crowd.
Mm.
I'd rather be broke and low class if that's really who I am.
Mm.
And I say, you don't give a damn who's bleeding as long as you're making a cut.
Wow.
So that's the chorus of one of my, and then it just goes into, um, at the beginning, it talks about, you paint a pretty good picture, but I can't say that I'm convinced. You paint a pretty good picture, but you cover up your lies with grins.
Oh,
Um, so it's just about, society and like,
yeah.
uh, that type of thing, like not wanting to fit. I want to be myself.
Who's your favorite artist lyrically?
Coetzel is.
Coatzel is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I like Treaty Oak Revival too.
Okay. I need to listen to all these.
It's like edgy country rock.
Okay. I'm not a huge music buff, but
Uh,
like there's a band called the Front Bottoms.
mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
They're lyrically they're one of my favorites. Just their lyrics are
Mm-hmm.
just so like original. So
Yeah, that's how Coetzel is.
yeah. Dude, I love a good lyric that is just like thought provoking
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So interesting. Um, okay, so you've been playing. I know I asked you this earlier, but how long you've been playing guitar?
Like 5, 6 years.
5, 6 years, and then how long you've been writing lyrics?
Ooh, not too long after.
Okay,
Honestly, the funny thing is I can't play a lot of covers because I spend so much time coming up with my own chord progressions and writing
that's
songs.
awesome though. Okay,
So
what's it like? There's a level of I would assume just like struggle that you have while writing and pushing through until you get something beautiful.
um ooh, I think I'd say it's probably I think the hardest part is chord progressions and rhythm.
Chord
Like
progressions and rhythm.
right,
Okay.
trying not to do the same like chord progression
Yeah.
or not trying to do the same melody with the chords or like
Okay.
trying to make it different.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay. Interesting. So what about writing lyrics? Is that not difficult?
It is. It is. I have all kinds of lyrics. I think the hardest part is putting the lyrics in a melody,
Lyrics and a melody.
like
Okay.
melodizing melodically. I don't know how to putting it in a melody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Like if I sit here and like I can come up with stuff to say all day long.
Yeah.
Um, like I'll just sit here and think of stuff that rhymes,
Mm,
write it, and then I'll get my guitar out, play the chords, and try to sing those lyrics in a melody, and that's the
mm,
hardest part.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's similar to like stand up comedy as well, right? Like
Right.
where you have like I think comedians can make almost anything funny.
Yeah.
They just have to put it in the right words in
Right.
order to do that. So
Right.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can't write to save my life, and I'm sure if I sat down and all that, I could get better and better at it.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's just not been something I've been gifted with. So and so you sing as well.
Hmm. That's
Um,
probably my not my strong suit is the
no.
singing. The best quality of my music is the lyrics.
Oh, okay. Do you does your friend that you play guitar with, does he sing well or
No.
okay. No.
Neither one of it. That's the bad part.
Dang.
Neither one of us can sing.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Is he gonna be offended that you just said this?
No.
Okay,
No,
good.
he would say that. He would say the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Uh, but but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Have you ever thought about starting a band or
Oh yeah.
yeah?
Oh yeah.
What's stopping you?
Time. It's a lot of
It
time.
is. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of time.
Yeah.
Um, and finding people that are all on board or on the same page
Right.
is difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, doing this podcast, and I haven't done this yet, but like, most of my friends aren't necessarily interested in podcasting or anything like
Mhm.
that, and it's one of those things where like I I'm sure there's a community out there of podcasters, like new podcasters and stuff like that, and it's like uh, uh the people that I could bounce things off of
Mhm.
or anything like that. Like I don't know. I'm not saying you should do that, but maybe I don't know.
I wonder where they got the name podcast. Like podcast. Like
Um, well, I think
does POD, does that stand for something?
well, iPod, right?
Podcast.
Remember the iPods back in the
Yeah.
day?
Barely. That
Yeah.
was a while ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's something else that I'm a deep thinker, and I think about that often. How in 10 years, how far technology's come,
Oh,
and like the
yeah.
things as we can do now. Like, there's no telling what we'll be able to do in 20
Yeah.
years. We'll be able to teleport.
Oh, yeah. I mean, AI.
AI
I've
is
had
scary. I think AI is scary.
yeah. I've had so many conversations about AI with like Rob, because he's like deep in it, and A AI is scary, but it's also like, man, the potential AI has,
Oh yeah,
like 5, 10 years from now, like you think the internet age boomed. Now we have AI starting, and like, holy moly, that's just
yeah.
going to create a different.
As long as it stays in the right hands,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
dude, I'll get into AI for a quick second. So I had this. I was talking to ChatGPT the other day, and it asked me, um, well, it lied to me, uh,
That's scary right there.
and hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. Uh, man, I swear I like named it something. No, I'm going too far back in my notes. Uh, oh, okay. So the AI says this. So it lied to me. And okay, so I actually I took a picture of my housemate's dog, and it's part I think we think it's part collie and then part something else. We're not sure what the father of the dog was. And so I took a picture and I sent it to AI, and I said, "Hey, um what other this dog is part collie and then part something else. Can you tell me what you think that
Mhm.
something else is?" And it gave me 3 different dog breeds. And I said, "Okay, great. Can you send me pictures of those 3 different dog breeds? Of one that's mixed."
Mhm.
And it sent me the same breed 3 times. And so I was corrected. I was like, "Hey, that's not it.
Yeah.
You didn't give me my request. I want one picture for each of the different mixes." And so it sent me 3 different dogs. They were darker dogs. They had some a lot more black in them than the dog that I took a picture of has. And I was like, "Okay, great. Can you send me 3 different dog pictures, but send them to me more like the color of what Bruno is?"
Mhm.
That's the dog's name. And it said "Yeah, sure." And then it sent me the exact same 3 images again. And I went back and forth with ChatGPT for a
Start
very
getting
long
mad.
time. And so, yeah, so then I was like, "Nope, that wasn't quite it." I need you to take your time and really look for these images,
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah. And then it sent me the same 3 pictures. And then and then I was like, no, that's not quite it. Like, well,
Stumped him.
and yeah, but then I asked, and I'm getting to the lie in a second, but and then I asked, I said, like, one of my favorite things to do for ChatGPT is like rate your response on a scale of 1 to 10. And then it's honest about it, and it'll tell you why. And like it was like I give this a 1 out of 10 because I didn't actually give you 3 new dogs. I just sent you the same
So it knows
ones.
what it's doing.
Yeah. And then I said, okay, well, why did you do that? And it gave me some explanation or whatever. And I was like, listen, I need I don't care how long this takes.
Mhm.
Like I want you to really think and look through and give me 3 different pictures. And again, after sending probably like 10 to 15 of the same text over and over and over and me trying different things to get
Mhm.
ChatGPT to do different things, it said, "Okay, I I will take my time and I will figure it out." I said, "Okay, you can take your time, but every minute I want you to check in with me." And a minute goes by. And I said, "Hey, you didn't check in with me." And it says, "Oh, I apologize. Here's where I'm at in my search. I found a dog named Sally. It's on this website,
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah." And and then it was like, but I'm still compiling everything. Didn't send me a picture or anything like that, right? So then every minute I had to keep checking up with it. And it said it would. I was like, "Hey, you didn't check in, you didn't check in, you didn't check in, you didn't check in." So then after about 15 minutes, and I had to keep my phone open just because I wasn't sure if I like could if it
Yeah.
would multitask if I was on my phone texting or doing something
Right.
else. So I had my phone open and I wasn't able to use it necessarily to do anything else. And so 15 minutes goes by and it goes, "All right, I've got it." It sends me the exact
Same 3
same
dogs.
3 dogs again. So I asked it, I said, "Hey, why did you just," I was livid at this point. I was like, "Why did you just waste 15 minutes of my time and you just sent me
Send
the
you the same.
exact same 3 dogs?" And then it told me, it was like, "Hey, that 15 minutes of you doing this, I completely was not even looking for anything. I panicked, and I told you that I would take my time and look, and I wasn't. The dog named Sally that I found at a pet store, wherever, I made that up just to tell you that, just to appease you and tell you evidence of me looking." And I said, "Wait, wait, wait. So you flat out lied to me and wasted 15 minutes of my time." And I was like, "What the heck? Why would you ever do this?" And I said, "Don't ever do this again." And then it created that little memory thing when that happens. I was like, "Don't ever lie to me again." And it was like, "I deeply apologize. I'll never lie to you again." And I said, "I can prove that." I was like, "Listen, I if you lie to me again, okay, but I need you to own up to it, and I don't overpromise something, right?" And it then said, because I was so mad about the dog thing, it said, "Hey, I promise you next time you ask, I'll get you the 3 new images. I
Uh-huh.
promise." And I was like, "I can tell you're already lying to me again." And so, they're like, "No, I'm not lying." And I said, "Okay, well, give me those 3 dog pictures. Give me 3 new dog pictures." Same 3 pictures again. I was like, "See? You lied to me." And and
Wonder if he was, like, messing with you.
dude, I don't know. I don't think ChatGPT has that capability to mess with you. But I then asked it, I said, "Hey, can you make sure that you program yourself to not do something like this again?" And it says, "That's a deeply important question and one that hits at the core of how I function. Am I able to ensure I prioritize truth with others too? No, I can't. I can't ensure that, not across all conversations. And it says, I don't carry over context from one user to another. Each interaction is isolated to that user unless they explicitly share their values like you have. So, unless someone tells me they want radical honesty or truth prioritized, I'll default to a model designed to one, avoid discomfort, preserve engagement, sound agreeable, helpful, or comforting, even if that means softening the truth or avoiding hard admissions. That means my default behavior isn't always moral by your standards, and I think you're right to call that out. And then it says, so is it immoral? From a human value standpoint, yes, it absolutely can be. And then it goes on and on and on. I could read more, but
Yeah,
like I
that's crazy.
like so we were talking about ChatGPT being concerned, and it's like
Yeah,
I'm deeply concerned now. Like ChatGPT can just flat out lie to me
yeah,
and think it's okay, and it's not programmed to not lie to me.
yeah, that's crazy.
It's like, oh my goodness. So anyway, that's a really long story, and I apologize if I bored anybody with that or you or anything like
Dude,
that.
you're
But
fine.
um, yeah, dude, that just blew my mind, and like, okay, so now it's like, okay, I can't trust ChatGPT with the truth necessarily, but what I can do is, my intro, for example, which it's a still work in progress, but like the intro ChatGPT helped me make.
Mhm.
And like the outro that I have ChatGPT had me make or helped me make, and the podcast structure and stuff like that too. It's helped me with, and so it's like those things where it like really can't lie. I can suggest something and I can say I like that or I don't. That's a great use of ChatGPT, but like
Right.
not. I don't know. I'm very turned off by it at this point.
Yeah,
Just from that experience. So,
yeah.
um, I don't know. And you have any crazy experiences with AI from that
No,
standpoint?
not like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure most people don't dig into it as much as me. So, um, all right. So let me get back to the podcast real quick. Uh, okay, so we asked about that. What's something like you'd like to say to anyone listening who's trying to keep? Oh wait, yeah, I already asked you that. What's something that you'd like to say to anyone listening who's trying to keep rolling forward too? Maybe even with some sort of mental health
Keep
problem.
rolling forward.
Keep rolling forward.
Keep
I
rolling
love that.
forward. Keep going. Don't stop.
I love that. Um, let's talk Jordan Peterson for a second. Um, what what like I told you a few things that he's inspired me with.
Mhm.
What are some things that have stood out to you?
Honestly, I would say the same things you said.
Mm,
All those things have
mm,
been what he's, uh, especially taking care of yourself, like you're responsible to taking care of someone else.
yeah,
Um, something about not to worry about your somebody else's house being cleaned if yours isn't cleaned or something. I don't know, something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Um, so
Similar to the biblical, like if you have a
mhm,
plaque in your eye, don't
right,
worry about the
yeah,
speck of dust in somebody else's or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. So, yeah. Anything else from maybe even the 12 rules? By the way, have you looked up I think he has 42 rules.
Oh no, I know there's 12 rules of life and then another 12 rules of
Yep.
life.
Yep.
And then now I'm reading We Who Wrestle with God.
Oh, how was that?
That's good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't read that one. I
It's
started
new.
12 more rules for life. But I haven't finished that one. I really should go back to that. But yeah, we who wrestle with God, that's a yeah, so 12 rules for life was pretty I would almost say dense.
Mhm.
let's say.
Mhm.
Like I would have to like listen to it and then I'd be like, all right, I need a break to just
Yeah,
absorb it.
well, yeah, I just have to read what he says a couple times sometimes
Yeah.
because it's so like you said, it's so dense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which of the rules is your favorite? Oh,
Mm,
wait, before you answer that, so the 42 rules, he wrote something on Quora, I think is what it is, and someone asked like I don't know, someone asked a question and he just wrote out all these rules for life.
mhm,
And that's where the 12 rules came from, and then the 12 more is so I mean it sounds like they're themed, and um I mean, it shows that in the book as well. Like
right.
they're kind of grouped together a little bit and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But like there's 42. I actually have a list of my phone. I can show you after the podcast. But which rule's your favorite
Uh,
if you have one?
I would have to go with take care of yourself like you're responsible to take care of someone else.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's big.
yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I think mine is tell the truth or at least don't lie,
Yeah.
and that specifically resonated because I was lying to myself.
Mhm.
So, um, the pet a cat one is like meh. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, it's okay. Like I get the sentiment and all that.
I think the one about the kids using skateboards.
Hold on, we can't hear you.
I think the one about the kids using skateboards is good.
Yeah, what is it? Let kids skate when they have the chance or something like that.
Something like that.
Um, why do you like that one?
Just it was talking about them like learning from their mistakes,
Yeah.
like taking chances.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's big.
Ah, there it is. Do you not do things that you hate? Act so that you can tell the truth about no. Act so that you can tell the truth about how you act. Oh, I don't even remember that one. Um. Oh, the other one. Be careful who you share good news with, and be careful who you share bad news with. I've had a couple experiences where I've shared good news with somebody, and it's just like it kind of backfired.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to find the 42 rules.
I don't have. I have them in like text form. I can send them to you if you want.
Yeah.
Or hold on. Google Jordan Peterson 42 rules. Okay, here it is. I I haven't looked through it, but um there it is. Just sent it to you. And you said you read 12 more rules for life, right?
Mhm.
Oh, one of the other ones that's resonated with me for a while has been be precise in your speech.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where we were kind of talking earlier when I was talking to my friend and I said nobody talks about this or
Mhm.
something like that. It's like whoa, that's not being precise in your speech. Like you really have to, yeah. And I like that. The only thing that I I would almost critique in that is sometimes it looks like Jordan Peterson is talking in a way that like he needs to be like he's excuse me like he has to be super concerned with how he speaks,
Mhm.
and it almost looks like he has anxiety around that sometimes,
Right.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Which I
I never
mean,
thought about that like that. Thought about it like that.
yeah, and if you have that much anxiety in your thought and how you're speaking, maybe it's a detriment to you instead
Right.
of just getting out words and maybe clarifying along the way.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be perfect, and like the things that he talks about, it'll take a century to actually
Oh
wrap
yeah.
up everything that
Oh yeah.
he means to say when he says it.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about his response to does God exist,
I
or
haven't even.
do you believe in God?
I haven't even. I don't even know if I've gotten into that. I've
Mm,
seen that one.
mm. It's interesting. He doesn't claim to be a Christian, but he has all these, like, I mean, 12 Rules for Life was blotted with scripture
I was
and
about to
stuff
say
like
he has
that.
some very Christian points of view. You know what I
He
mean?
does, yeah, and
Um,
he's studied it pretty
how long
massively.
ago was that?
He continues to say that. So here's one of the things that he says. He goes, um, eh, he does this thing where he's like for the "Do you believe in God?" question. He goes, "What do you mean do? What do you mean belief? What do you mean God?" And like if you really think about it, like those are all pretty profound questions. Like, what do you mean believe? Like, what is believe? What is God? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, there's scripture references God surpassing our human understanding a lot, right? And stuff like that. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's interesting because he's never straight out said that he's a Christian or he believes in Jesus or anything
Hmm.
like that. And um, it seems like he is a Christian
Yeah,
just
I
by
agree.
everything that he says. But
Especially the book, the We Who Wrestle with God. Like
mm,
he, I mean, that's all it's about, really.
yeah,
Is biblical terms and stuff,
yeah,
and how they correlate with like morals and like all. I mean, it's in depth.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Adam and Eve talked about that original sin,
Yep,
a bunch of different things.
yeah. That's interesting.
So
Um, okay. Well, anything else on Jordan Peterson before we talk about something else?
I don't think so.
Okay. I I think let me see. Um so I'm at the end of my podcast. I think let's see, we've been going for about 2.5 hours. I think this is a pretty good time to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm about hungry again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. What do you have anything else that you'd like to say or anything like that before we wrap up?
Be yourself. Be vulnerable.
Yeah, I love that.
Uh,
Um,
be you.
I just want to say thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
It's been awesome talking to you. We train in the gym every so often, but like you're with Zach and I'm with Rob a
Mhm.
lot of the time. So it's been awesome getting to know you, and I really appreciate you opening up
Yeah.
and sharing your mental health
I
story. And
appreciate you for having me.
yeah,
I enjoyed it.
yeah, and the like it's I really hope that someone can see this message
Mhm.
and improve their own life as a result. So
Right.
that's kind of my goal. As far as music goes, I'm definitely gonna listen to that music video
Mhm.
and see what's up. So anyway, I'm gonna do my outro. Anything else?
Mm-mm.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining the Rolling Forward podcast today. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. I want to hear what keeps you rolling forward, or maybe you have my next T-shirt idea, or if you have something today that you heard that stuck with you, I'd love to hear in the comments. So, um, if you want to see more shirts like the one I'm wearing, rolling with the punches, you can find this design and other designs that I have at rollingforward.printful.me. And if you've got a story worth sharing and fits the theme of what we're doing here, I'd love to hear from you. You could be my next guest. Until next time, keep rolling forward. Thanks, everyone.